This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll be creating a simple palette knife flower cake design. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewatch, and rewind as desired. We're going to make several colors for a cake project today, and we're going to start out making some light pink. I'm using American style buttercream, but you can use whatever you like. And we're using the following liquid gel colors: some neon bright pink, violet, and some yellow. And I've got a little of each out on my little lid because I'm mostly just going to use some specks with my toothpick. And to start with, I'm just going to make a nice light pink to coat the background of my cake. So just a few nice specks, because I've got quite a bit of buttercream in there, should give us a nice light shade. And here we have our color. We settled on a nice light pink. I added just another round of specks of pink just to get it up to where I wanted it to. But if you want it darker, just add more. Next up, we're going to make some darker pink. And you can see I've got less in the bowl. I don't need very much for this, but I'm going to give it a nice drop of pink. And then a couple specks of my purple. And since we're using more color with less buttercream, it should give us a brighter shade. And here we have our darker color of pink. We added just a touch of purple to it, so it's got a bit of a cool tone. And I added another round of that color just to make it dark enough. We want it to be able to stand out against that lighter color we made for our background. So just make sure there's enough difference. Next up is going to be some purple. I'm going to start with a drop of violet. And just to give my colors a similar feel, I'm going to give it a couple of specks of that pink. And here we have our finished color. Kind of the same with the second pink we made. We want to make sure that it's dark enough that it really pops off of that light pink we made for the background. Our final color today is going to be some yellow. And I'm just going to use some specks of yellow. And to give it a bit of a common thread, just a tiny drop, tiny little speck of that pink. And here we have our yellow. I gave it just a tiny touch more of that pink, just to give it a nice kind of buttery vibe and make it a little less lemon. We're going to be using a single bag and tip for this cake project. You can see I've got my yellow loaded up and ready to go in a bag with a number 16. In addition to that, we'll be using two of our spatulas, a small tapered offset spatula and a small regular offset spatula. And we'll be making our little palette knife flowers with these today. We'll be using a couple very simple techniques with our spatulas to create these palette knife flowers. The first one is going to be some large petals. These are going to be a 2-stroke petal. So we're going to use our palette knife first to smear a little buttercream on and kind of make it wider than it normally would be. And then we're going to pull down. So it's a 2-stroke petal. I'm using my regular offset spatula, and I want to go across and then pull. And you can see that gives us a wider area of coverage. We're also going to make some medium-sized petals, and these create with just a single stroke. So just a nice little ball of buttercream on the end of our spatula, press and pull. And finally, we'll be making some thin petals. We're going to use our tapered offset spatula, so that one that gets narrower as it goes towards the point of the blade. And we're going to press in and pull in line. And you can see that makes a narrower petal that also has this divot in the middle. And finally, we'll be using our bag to create our centers. So when we're making our flowers, and we're going to do several different kinds, we just want to think about pulling towards the center and not really what that center looks like, because we can use this number 16 to pipe some stars. So think a single one for small flowers, and then surrounding it for larger ones, and just some cute, clean little stars nestled all together. Quickly make a nice textured center for larger flowers. The first step in decorating today is going to be covering our cake with our light pink. We have a nice little cake here. It's 4-inch round. It's covered with a nice layer of smooth white buttercream. It's been in the fridge, so it's chilled up and it's nice and firm. So it's going to be easy for us to layer on our light pink. Once I'm done with my top, I'm just going to come in with my sides. Once we get our sides covered with that first layer, we're just going to go over it quickly. I use both my bench and my bowl scraper just to make sure that buttercream is on there. It's nice and even, smooth, straight sides. Nice clean transition. And those two tools will take care of that really quickly for you. And then we're going to come at the top and clean this up as well. And we just want a nice smooth surface to work on for our beautiful flowers. And if you need to, you can put it in the fridge and give it a second pass. We're going to do a couple of styles of flowers on our cake, and we're going to start out with a large double layer one. I'm starting out with some of my medium pink, and I'm going to do those large petals. And I don't really need a lot on my spatula, just a little bit, just to kind of get in there, kind of get that back edge of the petal going. And then I'm going to take it and swipe just like we practice. And I'm not too worried if I get too much of a taper here. This is going to be the center of my flower and I'm going to cover it up. I just want to give myself 4 or 5 petals for the back. And just rotate your cake. Get your frosting on there and pull towards the center. And I like leaving some negative space, so think some gaps between those petals. Just so there's some place for the eye to fall and it gives it some separation. Since we're using all the same color, we want to use that light background to give us some definition for our flowers. And there's that base layer. I've got that layer of those large petals on there, and I'm going to go in now and do some thin ones. So I'm just going to go in, same color. You can use a different color if you want. You can blend 2 of your colors. And I'm just going to make some of these thin petals and pull them closer to the center, right towards that same central point, just going all the way around. And you can see this fills in that kind of spot that I had in the center. It also covers up the ends of my petals, so where things were a little bit messy. So I don't really have to worry about getting perfect finishes on those swipes, which is a little harder, especially on the side of our cake. And just go in at any angle you need to make this work. And while you're working at home, if you need to, you can always pull your cake closer towards the edge of the turntable if your spatula is going to get in the way. But in general, it's pretty easy just to kind of change things up, get in there, and go in all directions. I'll just do this one a little backwards just to get it in there. So you can see now I've kind of covered up that center area, and I can go in and put it in the center with my bag of yellow. I've got my bag of yellow ready with my number 16. Any small star tip will do. And since this is a large flower, I'm going to do 1 in the center, and then I'm going to go all the way around it. So that's going to cover up the ends of all those little petals. And if you kind of disturbed any of your work there in the center, it'll really cover up a lot of those little blemishes and give us a nice finish to our flowers. And then it goes from looking like a bunch of buttercream swipes to a beautiful blossom. Next up, we're going to do a flower that's only a single layer, and we're going to use those medium single stroke petals. So we're just going to pull in line. So think smashing that bit of buttercream and pulling towards a center point. And I like to give my little flowers 5 petals, but you can give them as many or as few as you want to. Just needs to be enough so that it looks like a nice little blossom. And just angle your spatula however you need to get in there. Just building up a little bit on the tip there. Pressing in and swiping towards the center. And I'm going to finish this off with a quick center. I don't really want it to be as big as the one that I did before, so I'm just going to do a little tight grouping of stars just to cover up most of this central area. And I kind of like having a little bit of show through on some of my petals. It gives them just a little variation. So I'm not worried about subtle differences like that some people might see as mistakes, but I see as beautiful variety. And finally, we're going to make some little half blossoms. So think things that look like maybe they're angled towards the side and they're not presenting to you kind of in that full frontal fashion. So I'm going to use a combination of our larger 2-stroke petals, our singles, and finally some of our thin. And you can see I've mixed up the colors just to give myself a little bit of variety, and I'm even going to use a little bit of the extra light pink I have from covering my cake. And if you're doing these, you can do them by comboing the little petals, or you can do a single type. I could do all thins, I could do all mediums or all larges, and we can mix up and blend those colors together to give it a little bit of variety. And I'm just going to finish it by giving it the idea of a base down here with 3 of my stars. And so I'm just going to go ahead and repeat, do some double layer, some single layer, and some little half arrangements all the way around my cake. We went all the way around our cake and we went on top. And you can see in some places we even went over the side. Making a flower that starts on the side and finishes on the top is a great way to bring your design all over and effectively use up your space. We also made some in-between shades, so think mixing some of your purple with your medium pink, also mixing your pinks and purples with your light pink, just to give us some blends that give us a softer, kind of more varied look, so it's not too static. And it was just really simple. It only took us a couple of minutes to finish the rest of our cake, and now we've got a beautiful, vibrant design. We made lovely flowers while only really piping stars. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It truly supports our channel and helps us share more in-depth cake decorating lessons. Want to level up your skills? Our yearly membership has certificate programs from beginner and up. Learn more at cakedecoratingschool.com.